Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Stellar, aka XLM. So with that being said, let's dive on in. So you guys probably already noticed, but I have been talking a little bit more about XLM heavily on the channel because of some of the things that we have been noticing, specifically tokenization, right? But beyond just tokenization, there's still a lot more there. But in today's video, I also want to highlight some things that we just recently saw from XLM, specifically what's happening on the network. So let's dive on in. So I put out a post and I said that I've been talking about XLM recently more heavily because of the moves being made by Stellar. Tokenization is going to provide generational wealth to those who see the vision. And yes, it will. Considering the fact that almost every single major institution out there and organization that pulls the strings around the financial system, they're eyeing tokenization heavily. But you don't even need to hear it from me. All you have to do is do a little bit of research. I said I strongly believe that Stellar is at the forefront of this revolution. They have everything needed to corner this market and become a dominant force. Obviously, I do focus on Hedera and Ripple for what they have been doing behind the scenes too, but Stellar must be focused on. The ROI on XLM could be very good for a lower risk opportunity in this space. I see a lot of complaints about price action, but if you are complaining now, you are missing the big picture. And it's mainly because as we go over to rwa.xyz, guys, in the last 7 days, the Franklin On-Chain US Government Money Fund, which is on Stellar, and also even Polygon, but mainly it's on Stellar, as you guys do see over here, 417 million on Stellar. This is up almost 17% on the last 7 days. It's up to about roughly $413 million. Now, there is other ones here as well. For an example, the Wisdom Tree one, which we did outline in the previous video, there's about 5.4 million on this one, but this has been growing tremendously, and you can actually see here that 411 million of this is on Stellar. That's crazy. But this has been rising drastically. If we actually look on here, so let's go to network. So as you guys do see, this did hit a high back in November, right? It was about roughly 330 million, but today, and it's not fully updated because it updates every so often. I think it's like every 7 days. So I think that we're going to get a full-on update tomorrow, actually. But Stellar's absolutely killing the game. Versus Ethereum, versus Polygon, Solana, all of it. Guys, Stellar is an absolute giant when it comes to tokenized treasuries. But also, there was a great video that got put out, and it's actually regarding Franklin Templeton. Big shout out to XRP Drops for this. Well, we have asset managers start to cooperate with the crypto sector. Franklin Templeton works together with Stellar, but also showed themselves in this interview with Chainlink on the subject of tokenization, a paradigm shift for asset managers. Now, obviously, yes, you're going to have a lot of collaboration here. It's not just going to be Stellar. It's not just going to be Ripple. It's going to be multiple winners here. But the thing that I'm mainly focusing on is the initial networks that are starting to see major demand. And Stellar is one that is starting to see a large and significant amount of demand. But we also have, for the first time, it is really dawning on the majority of the traditional investment management and traditional banking systems that these rails create all new opportunities for us. And they're actually talking a little bit about the new rails for the new world. I mean, outside of tokenization, remember that these networks also are very efficient in moving value and settling value as well. Tokenization puts a spotlight on that. So tokenization is just the beginning. Once you really have tokenization realized in, now you're going to start to see a lot more other opportunities and a lot more other use cases also being built out on these networks. But tokenization initially is going to start to see, the big spotlight put on it. You're going to start to see tokenization, bringing in trillions on chain to a lot of these networks like Stellar. And that's when a lot of things get exciting, especially around utility and these projects that have utility behind it. But check this video out real quick.
It is really dawning on the majority of the traditional investment management and traditional banking systems that these rails create all new opportunities for us, right? And that people are now beginning to make those plans and embrace the technology. And this was something, that we should have seen coming. We kind of see this trend happen over and over with very new technologies taking a little bit of time for their potential to be understood by the financial industry. We saw the same thing with cloud technologies. I remember having many, many conversations, some of them even with you, Doug, with firms about, why it was going to be beneficial for financial services to take advantage of cloud-based, service-based offerings. That is so commonplace now, it's hard to remember that those conversations even took place. But they did, and we're at that point in the cycle again now, where I think Sergey completely identified the tipping point, which is we issue assets, right? We issue assets, we trade assets, we put assets into portfolios, we wrap portfolios in different wrappers to make them accessible to investors. And when you think about the way in which we do that, the market infrastructure on which we have been doing that is 50 years old, right? We came out with all of the processes that kind of define today's financial market infrastructure back in the early 1970s. And though we've added better computing power and more service-based ways of accessing those services, it is still the same set of services that we've been performing for 50 years. And what we are starting to see with the blockchain technologies is there are ways to improve that tremendously, right? There are ways to cut the processing times to get more real-time information. There are ways to enable 24 by 7 by 365 trading because we live in a global world. Our businesses operate in global worlds, and we should be able to trade portfolios in global worlds around the clock. We are looking at new ways of kind of now exchanging assets in a manner that brings together cash and securities that has never really existed in the same formulation of being able to really think of these as completely transferable securities in the moment. And we are starting to put assets into common holding structures called wallets. And if you think about the complexity of account structures today, that's a huge improvement just in and of itself. So I think that the biggest trend for 2024 is just as Franklin Templeton did on our journey. I think a lot of firms, as they start to partake in these explorations, which start off with perhaps a very modest goal, right? We started off with a very modest goal. But what happens is I think the more you engage in this space, the greater the opportunity set becomes because your better your understanding becomes. And that's where I think you're going to see a lot of progress made in 2024. I've seen even in just the last 6 months, the level of understanding and excitement and expansive thinking from my peers that I speak with has moved tremendously. So I think we're going to see a lot of excitement, a lot of building, and a lot of new opportunities emerge in the coming year.
So you guys have it. And again, we are starting to see a large portion of these big giants addressing exactly what she is saying. They're trying to tap into the wallets. They're trying to tap into custody services. That way they can address tokenization as a whole because they know how big tokenization will eventually become. I mean, when you have all of these big projects with the BIS, right? So over here we have the BIS confirms tokenization project as part of the 6 projects for 2024. Now, this is the initial project that we've been addressing a little bit in the past as well, and really kind of proving that DLT is now in the scope of the BIS. And the reason why that is so big is because this is the central bank of central banks. And this is actually with Project Promesa. And it represents a collaboration involving the BIS, the Swiss National Bank, and also the World Bank. Its objective is to develop a proof of concept for a platform designed to facilitate digital tokenized promissory notes. And this is all on DLT. The project will use distributed ledger technology to simplify their management and transparency. Tokenization is an important area where we have already launched one project and are planning more initiatives. And this is actually from the BIS. And this is because of the use cases and the opportunity behind tokenization and what it presents in terms of those efficiencies. And also, we have this from February 9th, actually, of this year, where this is from the BIS. This is tokenization for the real world. We have this quote in here, and it is so crucial to understand that this truly is how everything is going to change, right? We have throughout history, innovations in the monetary system have coincided with major leaps in economic activity. Money in the form of book entries overseen by trusted intermediaries opened the door to new financial instruments that spurred trade and commerce. Paper ledgers then gave way to their digital counterparts, bringing profound changes to the economy and society at large. Tokenization could take this evolution one step further. Tokens integrate the information in a traditional database with rules and logic governing transfers. By doing so, tokenization enables the contingent performance of actions, enlarging the universe of possible economic arrangements. Delivery versus payment, or DVP, where the transfer of the asset is a precondition for payment and vice versa, is the canonical use case, but more elaborate use cases can be envisaged. Having central bank money in the same venue as the other claims enables the settlement of transactions. For private forms of money, tokenized deposits are preferred to stablecoins due to the former's compatibility with the singleness of money. And again, like, all of this is presenting the idea that tokenization, specifically even around DLTs, blockchain, it is becoming a big focus point now of these major elite organizations like the BIS that do make the world of money go round. But also in this report, tokenization, real world assets, real world benefits, this is all regarding Stellar. We could scroll down and look more so into tokenization. So first off, number one, when assessing the impact of Stellar Network is one of the earliest examples of the true impact of tokenized real-world assets and their potential for the future. Stellar has already been collaborating with industry-leading financial institutions for several years to bring real-world assets on-chain, and just recently released Protocol 20 to bring Sorobon smart contract functionality to the network. In turn, Stellar has become the preferred platform of major financial institutions like WisdomTree, Franklin Templeton, and Circle, who have had their Stellar digital assets approved by regulatory agencies such as the SEC and also the NYDFS. Stellar has additionally gained popularity outside of the United States, with other key players adopting the technology and including ABN AMRO and the Bank for International Settlements Innovation Hub. Mind you, Stellar and Ripple are also both key players when it comes to tokenization, and they are working with the BIS. Situated as an early leader in tokenization, the Stellar network wasn't improved on to support tokenization, but was primed for this use case from its inception. As other networks look to get up to speed with tokenizations, Stellar's native network features have continued to drive adoption from global financial institutions and support a strong conviction for the potential of on-chain real-world assets. Now, also, there was a great quote within this that also put a spotlight on just how big Stellar has become. So we have Stellar benefits from stablecoin issuance to tokenized treasuries. Stellar is a leader in tokenized real-world assets, according to data from the rwa.xyz website, which is this one. We could see Stellar-based real-world assets make up about 40% of the tokenized treasury market, making it the second largest blockchain by TVL. And I think right now, technically, it's the first one. It's the number one. Because, again, if we look at this, no other network's close to Stellar other than Ethereum, but it's falling behind by over $60 million now. So technically speaking, Stellar is the number one largest blockchain by TVL in terms of tokenized treasuries, which is a very, very big deal. And they're choosing Stellar because of all of the efficiencies, which I did outline in my previous video. But this is only going to continue and continue and continue. And we even have down here that tokenization of real-world assets will undoubtedly be one of the biggest innovations the modern financial industry has ever experienced, because this is the next frontier for the financial system. This is the next generation of finance. And it is built out on these networks, and we know that these networks are being utilized and tapped in because of the data. The data is not lying to you. Stellar is an absolute giant. If you are not focused on what Stellar is doing, I really do think that you are missing out on one of the biggest opportunities that this market is presenting you. Long term, like I said, this is truly going to be generational wealth. Long term, because we will only continue to see these numbers climb and climb and climb and climb amounting to more and more demand and value moving over the actual network, which is going to be a big deal. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on because I'm more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.